validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Oh, forgot to push the button. There we go. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. We got it going, y'all. We got the go ahead from everybody except for you two. We got our full length songs going on here. We got the next one coming up at the back end of the show. Appreciate you guys coming to the show tonight. Special shout out to those of you that are on Twitch and Twitter. We're talking about Amazon today. So as we get started, I want to make sure that you guys like and subscribe. If you got some comments you want to be able to put in, you guys can click the link. And if you want to be on live in person, you can approve the mic, approve the camera, and get on in real time, long as you're over the age of 18, or at least look like it. We try to keep our comments appropriate in the live stream as well as in the comment section. But long as we're somewhat in line with our conversations, we have a open mic, open forum platform here. So even if I don't agree with your opinion, you have every right and ability to say what you want to say on this podcast. So feel free to put your 2 cents in. Just try to keep your comments a little bit more appropriate than what we had last night. Somebody needed some medical advice about a burn. Don't go to Vegas, best I can tell you. Anywho, we have new developments in the delays in our shipping from ordering things from Amazon, because the union that happened in, if I remember correctly, Alabama, where, keep in mind, we had in the South and in the East, we had the protests with the truckers, and now we have the protests in the warehouse. And everyone's formulating these unions demanding more pay, better working conditions, and other such things. And Amazon just established their union and went back to work. So we have a unionized scenario in our Amazon companies that is starting to spread around the United States. And I wanted to dive into that in today's show. I think this is going to be pretty interesting. So as we get deeper into the workers' fight for their increased salaries, we want to start talking about how Amazon workers are on the front lines of the e-commerce revolution, where, and I'm guessing they decided to put a value to that for themselves, but we'll see where this goes. Working tirelessly behind the scenes to get your packages delivered to your doorstep, but beneath the surface of the massive machine lies the story of a struggle, of exploration, and of workers fighting for their basic rights. Now, today we're going to explore the world of Amazon workers and their push for better working conditions and a fair deal. Now, the reality is that Amazon workers face some of the toughest working conditions because they're in a warehouse. And these are some of the hardest conditions in the industry because they have package distribution worldwide, and they receive incoming, coming, and outgoing uh, shipments on a regular basis. Holidays, weekends, overnights. I mean, I had a buddy that used to work at a Amazon warehouse, and I used to drop him off for the night shift right around 8 o'clock and pick him up at right around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I got to tell you, it was nonstop infrastructure. They're forced to work long hours on their feet, especially the security, and often in sweltering warehouses with minimal breaks and maximum pressure to meet productivity targets. They're denied basic benefits like healthcare and paid time off, and are instead treated as disposable cogs in a giant machine. The result is a workforce that's overworked, undervalued, and on the brink of burnout. But that's not all. Amazon workers are also subject to the intense surveillance and monitoring. And this is probably going to be due to the quantity of missing product. So, to make sure that the employees aren't stealing any of the packages that's coming in, they're probably going to have a heightened quantity of monitoring, as well as the monetization of productivity. So, with every move they make tracked and monitored by management, they're expected to meet impossible targets, with algorithms timing their every move and deducting minutes from their pay for minor infractions. Uh, it's a system that's designed to squeeze every last drop of productivity out of workers without regard for their well-being or dignity. And if that's wasn't enough, Amazon workers are also fighting against a system that's stacked against them. They're denied the right to unionize, with Amazon using every trick in the book to prevent workers from organizing and bargaining collectively. They're silenced, intimidated, and disciplined for speaking out against the company's practices, and are left to fend for themselves in a system that's designed to keep them powerless. But despite all these challenges, Amazon workers are fighting back, and they're organizing, unionizing, and taking a stand against the company's exploitative practices. The staging walkouts, protests, and strikes, and using their collective power to demand better wages, better working conditions, and a fair deal is actually made a difference in one of the warehouses. And at the forefront of this movement are workers like in Bessemer, Alabama, who made history by voting to unionize their warehouse. It was a landmark moment in the struggle for workers' rights and a powerful rebuke to Amazon's anti union tactics. And it's not just Bismarck. Workers across the country are rising up from Amazon's flagship warehouse in Staten Island to its sprawling fulfillment centers in California and beyond. The impact of these movements has been significant, with Amazon's slowly but surely being forced to confront its own shortcomings. I got to tell you something. We are at the cusp of two forefronts, because the shortcomings of Amazon versus the shortcomings of mankind. We're about to see two different changes here, and one of them we're not going to like. The company has raised its minimum wage, improved its bereavement policies, and even introduced tentative measures to address worker safety and well-being. It's a start, but there's still a long way to go, and Amazon workers are determined to keep pushing for change. One key moment in the movement came in 2022 when Amazon workers across the country staged a nationwide walkout to protest the company's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a movement of unprecedented solidarity, with workers from coast to coast standing together to demand better protection, better pay, and better deals. And it worked. Amazon was forced to listen and to make concessions to its workers. Critics argue that unionizing may actually harm Amazon's employees economically. A report from the National Bureau of Economic Research indicates that union victories can decrease the market value of a business by an average of $40,500 per worker. Let me say that again. Union victories can decrease the market value of a business by an average of $40,500 per worker, which could lead to lower wages and fewer job opportunities overall. That, my friends, is an investment change. So those individuals that invest in Amazon and those individuals that invest in stocks related to Amazon may end up rethinking their positions on Amazon due to the devaluation of Amazon stock due to unionization. This is particularly concerning for Amazon employees who benefit from stock options. A deadline in company value or a decline in company value could directly affect their financial investments. Opponents of unionization claim that unions can stifle business growth. They argue that the presence of unions may deter new investments and expansion efforts, thereby reducing competition in the market. This stagnation could ultimately lead to fewer job openings, adversely affecting not just current employees, but also prospective workers seeking employment. Strikes and labor actions associated with unionization efforts can disrupt Amazon's operations, leading to delays in order fulfillment and potential revenue losses, such as disruptions that can cause significant contributions to a negative public perception of the company, which could further impact its financial performance. The ongoing struggle between Amazon's management and its workers reflect larger trends in labor relations and economic policies. Advocates for unionization highlight that Amazon's business practices contribute to broader issues such as income inequality and poor working conditions, which have significant implications for the economy at large. High employee turnover rates and inadequate health benefits not only affect workers' morale, but also create inefficiencies within the company that can ripple through the economy. The integration of AI and robotics in Amazon warehouses has been found to increase worker isolation. A report from Oxford University indicates that employees in robotic warehouses feel disconnected, which complicates union organizing efforts. The lack of interaction among workers can hinder collective actions, making it difficult for unions to mobilize support and build solidarity among employees. Amazon's use of AI extends to monitoring employee behavior and identifying potential union sympathizers. Technologies like Geospatial Operations Console, SPOC, allow the company to analyze data on employee movements and interactions, effectively targeting those who may advocate for unionization. This real time surveillance creates an environment of fear and mistrust, discouraging workers from openly supporting union activities. Furthermore, AI driven systems can automate responses to union related activities, streamlining Amazon's anti union strategies and making them more efficient. While AI is often marketed as means to improve operation efficiency, it has been reported that the deployment of these technologies leads to increased work intensity and pressure on employees. Workers face heightened performance expectations driven by algorithms, which can exacerbate stress and dissatisfaction, factors that are critical in motivating unionization efforts. The combination of intense work, demands, and isolation may deter workers from pursuing union representation as they focus on meeting productivity targets. The rise of AI in Amazon's operations may also complicate collective bargaining processes as AI systems become more embedded in workplace management. They could influence decisions regarding wages, working conditions, and job security without adequate human oversight. This shift could lead to a perception among workers that their interests are not being adequately represented or considered in negotiations, further weakening union influence. In the end, the struggle of Amazon workers is a testament to the power of collective action and the importance of fighting for your rights. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's also hope for change, and that sometimes all it takes is a group of brave and determined workers to stand up and determine a better deal. While the movement towards unionization at Amazon is driven by a desire for better working conditions and representation, it raises complex questions about its potential economic ramifications. So the critics warn that unionizing could lead to reduced wages, fewer jobs, and operational disruption, while supporters argue that addressing workers' rights is essential for sustainability in the economic future. I'm going to be honest with you guys that when it comes down to the way that they have put together the unions, knowing that Digitech is continuously adding more and more uh, uh, more and more AI to the operation, you have to understand that if the union is going to preserve themselves, they have to have a contract where they're guaranteed to have a certain quantity of human employees on the payroll mandatorily as a form of human rights affirmative action against machinery, because Amazon could essentially streamline a full mono AI workforce that would push out all of the human workers out of the warehouse over time. We have to take into consideration the humanoid AIs that have been made by Tesla, Digitech, and several other AI developing companies, where Hyundai, with their Boston Dynamics, have their AIs working in their warehouses, manufacturing machinery. As AI become the dominant solution to the increased demands for wage increase, you're looking at big business more motivated to cut costs, and they're going to invest a larger quantity of money in research and development to cut costs, where they will then get out there and put together a full shift of AI, which will then start reducing the workload on humans, which will make the humans feel satisfied at first, because you'll go from being paid to do the work to being paid to watch the work get done. And then you'll go from being paid to watch the work get done to having your hours reduced because it doesn't require so many of you to watch the work get done. Then you'll also start seeing layoffs where they'll start seeing, well, they might only need one or two employees to watch the 20 or 30 AI do the work of 500 humans, where you would lose 498 employees. You're not going to be able to hold strong a union when there's only two people in the union, which dissolves the union. Then you have the problem that even if those two individuals are getting paid $50 an hour, fact is that you've only got two human employees on the payroll, and you've got 500 or 700 machines on the clock at $13.50 an hour, offsetting. And then weirdly enough, you could actually have three people on the clock at $40 an hour, where one person every 8 hours, so that you can maintain the mandatory wage scenarios where they overlap one another in some way, shape, or form. Each person can work 10 hours, but they have them overlapping one another where people can take breaks. Think about the fact that the business could start running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if it's not already doing so, where there's no holidays off, there's no vacations, there's no sick days. It's just show up and get paid to get this work done. It's very impressive that people were able to band together and fight for their rights. And it's very impressive that they were able to push for, at least for the time being, the betterment of their work industry. But I'm going to tell you that if they don't start contracting in certain things right now, where in 5 years it's going to be relevant, I'm going to tell you that coming in and forming a union in a company that is directly incorporating non-human employees is not beneficial for you. Because when it's humans versus machines, even in the workforce, when the machines have possessed enough autonomy where they are capable of functioning on their own without the need for human assistance. The AI will outwork the humans on a regular basis. Humans have always created solutions to the laziness of humans. Humans have always created solutions to the absence of available humans. Humans have always created ways to come about saving money on the labor of humans. And with all of that coming about, we're looking at the movement of, so your products are going to start coming faster now after the movement has stopped and they've gone back to work. But the movement of unionizing is going to change the way deliveries occur. Then think about this, because the company in and of itself is not necessarily going to eat this cost. This is going to be another economic development. As the unions are going to have their demands met by Amazon to some degree, the cost is going to be offset onto the e-commerce industry, where the affiliate drop shippers are going to have a higher premium to pay for Amazon fulfillment when they're automating their e-commerce stores. There's also going to be increases on the cost of products on Amazon, because the e-commerce stores, the drop shippers, are going to raise the price of the product to offset the cost of Amazon fulfillment so that they can meet the next day delivery needs, which is going to cost the individuals that are shopping on Amazon to pay more money for their shipments, which is going to make everything cost more. That's going to be a level of inflation that's going to trickle down from this unionization. The same way we've already got the inflation from the cost of products being shipped in from overseas, because import exports with the tariffs is going to cause products to go up. So now we have two areas of inflation that we have to deal with. It is a high five to have for companies to look at unionization, but the fact is that how is it going to impact once you get paid? Everything costs more money. Now, here's the thing. I've been saying this for a long period of time, is that if those of us that get a pay increase, instead of us splurging on things that we don't need, if we were to take that money and invest it somewhere, we probably would benefit from this unionization, because you're going to get better pay, which means that you should be able to have an increased standard of living. Well, you should be able to have an increase in income to go towards your standard of living, which means that you should go from living at 120% of your income to living at 80 or 90% of your income, which means you should be able to take 10% of your income and invest into something other than Amazon. And the reason why I say invest into something other than Amazon is because usually employees that have stock in the company have a contract with that stock that's tied to their employment. And the detrimental consequence of that is that if there is a termination of employment, then there's a forfeiture of your stock options. Now, as long as that doesn't exist, and you can by far invest in Amazon on the sidelines. But if you invest in Amazon through Amazon as an Amazon employee, once they fire you and put an Amazon AI in place, you lose all those stocks, you lose all those investments, you lose all of your money. So it's not a good idea to directly invest through your employer as an employee, where the contingency of ownership of those stocks is that you still are employed with the company. If you're going to invest in a company, you want to invest in a company from outside the company as a shareholder, where your employment is not relevant to your shareholdings. But beyond that, yeah, go ahead and do what you do. Now, since there is a rumor going around that is definitely dictating that unionizing Amazon is going to cause the value of Amazon to depreciate by $40,500 per person. That's a lot of money. even if that's a per year standard, you know, a 40,000 depreciation of value for, what did I see, like 20 or 30 union workers banded together in that Amazon video. You know, 100 people, that's like what, $400,000, $4 million worth of devaluation of that's a lot. That's a lot. These are the things that I talk to you guys about when I tell you that if you pay attention to your economy, you can pay attention to your investments. If you were investing in an Amazon stock and the Amazon stock was on the rise, you could bet against the stock until the stock crashes, because you know the stock is about to crash. You could do a series of puts in option trading and just ride the wave until it goes all the way down to where it's supposed to hit. And then you can do a series of calls, because it's not going to go back up anytime soon, since it's going to be continuously devaluing the product until they find a balance, because Jeff Bezos is going to be working on the balance between the union workers versus the AI that's going to be in the warehouse. And you see a lot of AI in the warehouse already. You have self-propelled pallet jacks. You have self-propelled forklifts. You know, so there's a lot of getting the job done. And working alongside your replacement. Making too many demands to the boss. I don't know how well that's going to work. But what I can say is that we're going to see a difference in the way Amazon ships products, and we might actually start seeing our products show up faster. So for the last few weeks, the last couple of months, we've been dealing with delays in our orders, where things are supposed to be, it used to be 2 to 3 days. And after COVID, now everything is 3 to 5 days. And now with the protests, it's been 5 to 7 days for next day delivery. A buddy of mine had tried to ship a package to me, and he sprung for next day delivery on Tuesday. It was scheduled to show up on Monday. I'm like, what? Hey man, you could have just scanned it and sent it to me in an email instead of mailing it to me. But the fact is that when we look at how stopping the productivity of a company, you actually can make change, but it's a unanimous decision. It's got to be a united front. You have to have the entire company, not just your shift, because if it's just like 8 or 10 people, they could just fire y'all. But if it's the entire roster, they can't fire everybody at one time. But I know for sure that if they catch anybody slipping, they can fire the advocators of the union for stuff unrelated to the union development, because they could fire you for violating policies somewhere else, and slowly chip away at the strength of the union until the union dissolves itself. There are other ways that they can work towards anti-unionized policies. For example, they could take one of the union leaders and put that union leader into a management position where that union leader's bonuses are based off of productivity. And then the union leader will start becoming exactly like the middle management, because they're now incentivized on their own personal greed to push the workers harder. When you cut off the snake, you don't end the snake. I find this to be a very interesting tactic that big business does. But what'll end up happening, like I said before, like you've seen that one woman and one man that was still working in the warehouse while everybody else was outside protesting. There's going to be a select few employees that were not involved in the unionization, and those are going to be the employees that will still have a job when they start eliminating the workload. Because right now you're asking for what some of the things they're asking for right now is a reasonable rate of pay. They're asking for guaranteed benefits because of the quantity of hours that they're working. They're not asking for guaranteed hours. They're not asking for guaranteed quantity of employees on the payroll. They're not asking for job security. They're asking for the benefits because of the high demand for their work. So while that's great, the fact is that if they solidify that particular type of contract, knowing that you're working alongside AI, all they have to do is keep giving you your benefits, keep giving you your wages, reduce your hours, and slowly phase you out to AI technology. And that's going to be one of the things that a union is not prepared for. Unless the union gets, and the unions are only going to put that up there late in the game after they start downsizing, when Amazon stops hiring new people because they're going to start expanding. Also, so being unionized, nobody will be able to get a job at Amazon. That's what's going to basically happen, because the union is going to be there. And if you're not part of the union, you're not going to get employed, which means you have to join a union. Now, guess what the union is going to have to do in order for the union to be able to maintain stability? They're going to have to start charging union dues so that they can have somebody's sole job to make sure that the union is being taken care of. Now, that means that, like health insurance, employees are going to have to start paying for union dues so that they can be protected by union reps, which means that there's going to have people who work for the union whose sole job is paid for by the union members to make sure that the union members don't get messed over by the company anymore. These are things that as you develop the union, as you develop the structure, it starts becoming as cumbersome as just dealing with what's going on in the company. Now, you are going to get better benefits right now, and for the next 5 years or so, 5, maybe 10 years, you'll feel like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to you guys. But what'll end up happening is, guys, it's gonna backfire in a massive way. And without proper maintenance, these unions that are being developed are going to be the first ones on a chopping block when productivity increases due to sole performance of AIs. Now, I've been saying this for a long period of time, that with the 200 restaurants that in place to replace the kitchen staff with AI, when Digitech from Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, bought Digitech and started incorporating warehouse workers, AI warehouse workers, I've been saying that we got to start finding other ways. You got to work for yourself. You have to find a niche, get in there, even in an oversaturated market. You got to get in there and find your footing. You've got to find a way to phase yourself out of the work field, out of the competitiveness against AI, because if you don't, you'll be in a position where your job is on the line based on the performance and productivity of the machines that are on the clock. And self-learning AI over the course of 5 to 10 years can learn from working alongside humans until they work better than humans. And then as they develop an ability for efficiency, while machines are not that advanced right now, as they become that advanced, you will start seeing that you're going to be replaced. And preparing for the future is something that formulating a union doesn't always have on the agenda. Fixing the right now is typically what is on the agenda. And I think that that's great that you fix what happened now, but I think that it's also equally important that we put a lot more effort and a lot more energy into making sure that our futures as human employees are secured with the development of these unions. And if that's the case, and I would expect that all companies, all employees across the country to try to unionize and set up anti AI exclusive employment industries to make sure that humans aren't phased out. Because if you don't put it up there as an argumentative factor while it is an irrelevant tactic right now, it's going to be too late when it becomes a relevant tactic. Because you have to understand, the same way Elon released like 5 to 10 robots at one time with his debut of the autonomous robot mixing drinks and chauffeuring cars and stuff like that. You have to think about the fact that when a company introduces something like that to the workforce, they're not going to walk up there and say, oh, we're going to bring one in and see how well it does. We're going to bring in 40 of them, 50 of them, 75 of them and see how well it does. And then when you have man-to-man workload, you'll see that the machines are doing so much that the humans are running out of work to do. And the productivity contract requires that the humans do a certain quantity of work. What you'll end up seeing is, well, the workers are naturally going to take a load off because the machines are doing all the work. Amazon's not going to complain about the workers not working, but they're going to build a history of data where the workers have gotten used to not performing the job alongside the machines because the machines are so efficient. After a few months or maybe even a few years, just to make sure that the AIs are working very well, of them monitoring the lack of performance of the employees because of the heightened performance of the AIs, a conversation will happen where all of the employees will be laid off because they're not doing the work. And then there'll be ample video of employees hanging out on a job, not doing any work, ample videos of employees coming to work late and leaving from work early because the robots are doing all the work. Less monitoring of the product and more monitoring of their social media platforms. And that's when the companies are going to say, all right, we're going to have to fire you and you and you and just keep going down the line until they have disposed of all of their humanoid employees. And because the productivity is so high, they no longer have job openings because the union put a stop to that. So since there's no job openings, no new people can get hired by Amazon and start working for Amazon. And it's going to become a mono AI industry. So as humans, if we don't start protecting ourselves by getting it into our contract that there's a mandatory requirement for a certain number of humans to stay on the payroll as they switch over to automated machine employees, we're going to be sitting in a scenario where we're creeping up on mass hysteria because so many people are going to get kicked out of a job at one time. Now, the worst part about that is that once you get laid off, it's going to be hard for you to find another job because a lot of the companies are all leaning towards the same AI replacements. So we're going to find it more and more difficult to get anything done as far as finding a new job if you're not self-employed. If you are not providing the service to the general population, it is going to be harder and harder to find employment because there's going to be so many machines that are going to be coming in and taking over and providing that service for us. Now, clearly, until machines start fixing themselves, there's going to be tons of jobs with servicing the machines. So tech jobs, software jobs with fixing the algorithms and updating the software and the programming of the machines. It's going to still be something that's going to be a thing. But the manual labor workers, first ones out the door. Food industry, second one's out the door. Transportation might be the in between 1 and 3, but if they're not the second one out the door, they're the third one's out the door because with Elon Musk making the cyber taxi, they already have value shipping, which is different from Swift. They've already switched over to driverless trucks. So as trucking companies switch over to AI, and Amazon switching over to AI, you're looking at the entire manual labor industry, the entire blue collar industry switching over to an AI workforce. So if you're not going to college and getting you a degree in computer technology, if you're not going to college and getting yourself an engineering degree, and you technically don't need to go to college for that, but that's probably the only way that you're going to get the certification is if you go to college. But the fact is that if you're not certified in computer technology and engineering, with the way these unions that are popping up in Amazon and all over the country is going to start forcing big businesses to replace human workers with machines, you're the only jobs that are going to be left are tech jobs. That's it. That's the only jobs that are going to be left. Software development and hardware repair. That's going to be the two jobs that are going to be left. And everything else is going to start being run by machines. So I've been talking about that for a long period of time. And as our country continues to flow in that direction, the only thing I can tell you is that I told you so. Because you think about $25 an hour is not enough anymore because of inflation. We even have right now where the U.S. government is giving us inflation stimulus checks. It ain't that much dollar. Like what, $450 extra? Not that much money. But the fact is that they're giving us inflation stimulus checks because inflation is happening. And inflation is happening in more than one area. It's not just happening because of the tariffs. It's happening because of increased wages. It's going to happen because of increased employee provided benefits. And every big business is going to offset its expenses onto the customer by raising the price of the products. That's where the inflation is going to cause the consumer to spend more money for the better standard of living. Now, the problem is going to be is that inflation is never going to be halted by the consumer because we want stuff. Not that we need the stuff that we buy. We want the stuff that we buy. And because we want the stuff that we buy, this is where the rubber hits the road, guys. Because we as consumers do not put a stop to the increased prices of products. Because notice, high demand causes high inflation of cost. High demand is going to cause people to spend more money on the limited quantity of supply. If people stop paying for the value of that supply, the supply will increase beyond the demand. And what will the company do? Reduce the price. So as long as people are willing to pay for something, the price of something is what other people are willing to pay for it. So as long as people are willing to pay the cost to get the product, you have to realize that the companies will only continue to raise the price of the product. Once people stop buying a product because the product is too expensive, you're going to see a change. But that means that the same way you unionize work, you would have to unionize spending and say, if it goes over a certain dollar amount, I'm not paying for it. And literally stop. Which means while gas is cheap, you might want to run out there and go get you 40 or 50 gallons of gas and get you a gas pump and put it at your house and then top your car off so that when gas starts going up, you're not paying for gas because your gas was paid for before when gas was cheaper. And ironically, you can kind of regulate how much gas you pay for, because if you go and buy $400 or $500 worth of gas and put them into drums and put those drums in a climate controlled area, then once you need some gas, when gas like too high, you just go in there and get you some fuel treatment, throw it on the car, throw it on the truck, SUV, and by all means, you don't got to deal with that nonsense. You also can have, since Elon's putting it out in 2026, we only got 13, 14 more months, because I think it's supposed to be quarter one or quarter two that you're supposed to see the cyber taxi come out. Cyber taxis are like $30,000 a piece, whereas gas power cars are the cheaper ones are about $20,000 a piece. So for an extra $10,000, you can get yourself an electric car. with an electric car, you could have one electric car at the house and one gas powered car at the house. You could interchange between the gas powered car and the electric car. And when gas goes up, you could primarily use your electric car. And when gas goes down, you can start using more your gas car, or you can phase out your gas car altogether. With the reduce in demand for gas powered cars, so will reduce the price of gas. This also will impact your investments in oil. So you got to think about that as well. And one of the funniest things that we look at is, while the economy shifts to accommodate the demands of consumers, we're not paying attention to the fact that the consumers control the price if the consumers would just stop buying stuff. So while Amazon workers are typically the blue collar workers, the bottom 99% are typically the ones that are the most wasteful people. And since they're the ones that are the most wasteful people, they're the ones that are going to spend the money that they make as soon as they make it. If you fight for all of these rights and you fight for all of these provisions, you're working 60 hours a week. You don't have time to go to the doctor, so you got benefits, but you can't do anything about it. You take paid time off, and that's fine, but they're only going to limit you a certain number of days of paid time off, so you're not going to get that many days to go to the doctor. Then you're going to look at the benefits that they're going to give you is not going to offset your expenses. So then when you get all this money from the raise, from the promotions, from the protesting, you're going to still be in a situation where you're going to be wasting more money that you make on the things that you want, not the things that you need. Because notice, groceries are probably one of the last things to be affected by inflation. One of the first things that gets inflated in our economy is the desire to buy stuff that we technically don't need. Then the things that we do need is typically some of the last things that are affected by inflation. And one of the reasons is because the companies are not intertwined with one another. So food and beverages services are not going to increase revenue until they are directly negatively impacted by the changes in the economy. So for example, the AI trucks are going to save money on drivers, but they have to spend like $100,000 a truck. So if they're spending $100,000 a truck and they got to buy 10 trucks, that's $1 million. They might offset that by charging extra $5 or $10 for the shipping per mile, or per mile for shipment. And if you've got a certain number of items, and you might end up having to pay an extra $100 for shipping your products, which means that you might offset that and add probably 10 to 75 cents an item to your food. And then when it gets to the grocery store is going to add another 10, 20 cents to it to increase their profit margin, because they have unionized workers in their grocery store. And that's when you're going to start seeing the grocery store going up. So by formulating a union, you're doing a good job by protecting your immediate best interest. And that's going to be something that I think that everybody should be able to try to do, is protect your immediate best interest. But you got to make sure that you start focusing on the long term. You can't just continue to do what you're doing for the here and now. Savor your victory for the first 5 days. And then after that, you got to really start getting down to business, because you've got to start preparing a 10 or 20 year plan. Even in unionizing, you've got to prepare a 10 or 20 year plan, because if you're not preparing a 10 or 20 year plan, this is not going to last long, because they've been preparing a 10 or 20 year plan to get rid of the humans so that they can save money on labor. So are the humans prepared to be replaced by machines? And what's your fallback when they do? These are some of the things that we need to really, really start taking into consideration. So if you're not like me running your own businesses and you're not taking your extra money and investing it somewhere where you have money making money for you, then you need to start asking yourself exactly what you're going to do in order to make money. Because after this next 4 years, where all of the doors are open for ample opportunity for change to be made financially, if you're not making that change right now, you're not going to see opportunities later. Because once people capitalize on something, they bridge the gap. Once too many people start benefiting from a good thing, they bridge the gap. So you have to understand that as the increase in payouts occur, you're going to see more and more people either super saturating that particular area, or you're going to see the powers that be that have to pay out shutting that avenue of cost down so that they can preserve their profits. Because the rich don't get rich from helping poor people get rich. The rich get rich from exploiting poor people. That's why it's called capitalism. You're capitalizing on somebody else's work, effort, and or mistakes. That's it. That's what capitalism is about. You put your money down, somebody screws up, you take their money. That's how that works. But everybody's got to put money on the table in order for somebody to take more money off the table than what they put on the table. And that also means that somebody else is walking away from the table with less money than what they put on the table. So the rich don't stay rich by sharing their wealth with the poor. The rich stay rich by keeping their money in their family, keeping their money in their pockets. So the rest of us that are not rich, in order for us to get rich, we've got to start replicating rich tendencies. And while unionizing does help in some ways, unionizing is going to cause more long-term problems. And if the union that is being developed is not preparing to handle those problems, then the union is going to cause themselves to lose a lot more employees, which is going, and you can't lose the strong developers of the union as the employees that get sacrificed, because then the union will falter, which means that you're going to have to sacrifice the weaker employees in the union in order to increase stability of the union, which means guess what the union is going to start doing? Developing work criteria. You guys got to perform a certain way or we're going to have to put you out of the union. Because you can't make the union look bad with the big business, because that'll jeopardize all the union workers. So that's all I have for you guys for today. Today was one of those shorter topics, but we managed to pull the spread of the full hour. I want you guys to stop and think about, as things change, what are we going to do? Because tomorrow's show is interesting. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about those reparations, because as we discuss those reparations during the campaign election, when Kamala was talking about giving reparations to those that were a part of slavery back in the day. Now we have to really consider the fact that there are at least 3 or 4 other states that are doing it. So I want to talk about that tomorrow. So you guys need to come to tomorrow's show and check out how they are actively paying reparations to the minority people in several states in the United States right now, where they were originally paying other areas of reparations, like Florida and other such places, but Florida put a petition up to try to put a stop to it. The fact is that as time goes on, certain states are offering those reparations, and as that situation starts increasing, you're going to start seeing a larger quantity of people throwing down to get their cut. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow's show. So make sure that you see us 10 o'clock Central. We're looking at 11 Eastern, 7 Pacific time. Make sure that you guys come and take a look at what we got going on for tomorrow's show. We're still lining up the next couple of weeks. The artists that created the Higher Ground intros and outro songs that we have for the show. We also have Non-Negotiable and the Precision Protocols, I think is the name of the other song. We have a whole album, and we have it in the description of the show. So if you're still here as we wrap up the show, I want to make sure that you guys hang out and listen to the closer, because these guys are pretty good at what they do. And they're going to be coming onto the show within the next week. I got to try to fit them in. They're ready to be here whenever we're going to be here. And I want to bring them in, and they're going to be exclusively the discussion of the show. We're going to sit here for about an hour or so talking about their dreams, their ambitions, their ability to make the tracks for us, as well as the music that they make across the world. So we're going to be talking about that, because they are from Switzerland. So we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff when we bring them up to the show. We're just going to try to fit them in sometime in the next week. So as we start scheduling more shows, you're gonna see. I think they are Atlas Music or Atlantic Music, something like that. I gotta go back and double check, but they are in the bios. So if you want to check the description of the show, you see the artist, you see the songs, you see the listing of the songs. We went the extra mile for you guys. We made sure that you have the ability to in the description on the YouTube channel. So if you're not on YouTube, because I see you guys popping up on Twitch and Twitter, if you're not on YouTube, big ups to Red Void and Omni81. You have to check out the fact that in the description, we have the YouTube channel for all 5 songs. We have 5 songs. I did 4. We have 5 songs. And then in addition to that, we also have places where you can buy the song and download it so that you can have access to it even when your phone goes offline, because they are very catchy songs. I really enjoy them. So I get to listen to them every day because I go live with at least 2 out of the 4 songs. I have to make trailers for the other 2 songs so that we can throw those on as well. But as it stands right now, that's what we're working on. We're going to make sure that we get everything put up with that. So make sure that you guys follow us throughout the week, because as we get closer to Christmas, I got to make sure that I queue up a Christmas show, because today is the 20th, so tomorrow's Christmas Eve. So kind of got to do a Christmas show on Wednesday, and then we're going to be back to talking about business and relationships and other such stuff the day after that. So that's another reason why we haven't lined everything up, because kind of want to figure out what we're talking about for the upcoming days, get these topics kind of lined up. And then as we get these topics kind of lined up, we're going to be talking about what we're looking at crawling into 2025. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're not, make sure that you hit those notification buttons, get those push notifications to remind you that we're coming to the show. We are going to be sticking to this time slot, so hopefully you guys were able to make time to be here. If you're in Romania and Brazil, early morning for you guys, drink a cup of coffee while you sit here and listen to the podcast. Make sure that you share it with your friends and your family members, and try to get some more of y'all to come in and enjoy the podcast. If you guys have any questions or comments about the show for today, or if you guys want to hear about new topics that have not been brought up on the show yet, make sure that you throw that stuff into the comment section. If you are on Twitch and you came over to YouTube and you sent me a message on one of the shows asking me to raise a topic specifically in your country, even, let me know, and I will redirect and generate an entire. I'm going to do some research on a topic, and I'm going to definitely put together something that will promote the information in your country. I know that I've touched on a small quantity of countries so far, so I know that I do have to talk about business, finance, and investing in other countries, because I think I've gone over specifically 3 or 4 of them directly, but I've talked about on a broader scale about 20 of them, and I do want to cover another 20 or 30 more. So everybody gets a shot, especially the top 10 or 20 countries that's been following us. So I do want to. Russia's one of the ones that's been showing us the most love lately. I do want to do a a review of investing in Russian business, because I mean, hey, they know what they're doing. So in the meantime, stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled, and always make sure that you remember that we are going to be here 7 days a week. So you guys need to be here too, because there's plenty of things to learn. As I find out about it, I'm going to bring it to you guys. As I said, that's all I got for you for today. So ladies, as I say all on a regular basis, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, I appreciate you guys coming to the podcast, because you guys make us what we are. And we really appreciate you guys on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, since we are on our year 2 of the podcast. Special shout outs to those of you that are on Twitch and Twitter, because you guys consistently show us that love and support on multiple platforms. So we really appreciate you guys. I'm your host, Xander, for This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. You guys have a good night and enjoy the closeout trailer.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.